My Gavanen Melonin, and well met indeed. I'm Arakea Galadirthan, and welcome to Warhammer 2. I have spoken about this so much in recent Divide and Conquer videos, and I've been playing it so much recently, and it's so much better connected to the content of my channel that I wanted to bring it to you. Fortunately, from the days way back when I first did a Warhammer 2 video, which was back then endorsed by the company. They very kindly gave me the game for free, and I did some videos on the channel. And at that time, I'd never played the game, and I was useless. However, since then, I have played an awful lot, I've watched many guides, and I now feel much better at the game. And also, you can now play as the Empire in the new world, in the Vortex campaign with Marcus Wolfhart. And you better get used to that name because my goodness does he say it a lot. It's pretty much the only voice quote he has. He just says his name all the time. You may also notice that the cursor has returned, and this is not because Nvidia has fixed it. It may not actually even be here now. I've done so many tests and it was there in all of them, so it should be there. But it's not because Nvidia has fixed it, it's because I've found a workaround online, or someone else has found it and kindly shared it with the rest of us. So the cursor can finally come back. Now, we're playing as Marcus Wolfhart. We are the Empire, but we are restricted in our recruitment depending on the level of acclaim we have reached throughout the campaign. We gain acclaim by being good, basically, capturing settlements and killing lizard men, which everybody loves. Because does anyone actually like playing as lizard men? I certainly don't. Humans all the way. So, we are the Empire. The campaign difficulty is going to be on hard. I've done copious amounts of research into what the difficulty settings do. And the answer is basically they cheese the AI. And I hate cheating difficulty settings. So I try... I'm not bothered that I'm not playing on very hard or legendary. I'm not interested in that. But we're going to play, as I say, as Marcus Wolfhart. The other options in the Vortex campaign are the High Elves, which are these four over here. You also can play as a lot of different legendary lords for the Lizard Men. There are also then on this side the Dark Elves, and then the Skaven. I'd rather die than play as the Skaven. And then the Vampire Coast, which are just pirates that happen to be undead. And then, of course, the Tomb Kings. I've not played as them either, but they seem intriguing. But we're here for Marcus Wolfhart. And let's just dive in, I suppose. That's all I can really say for now, so let's go for it. I'll let you watch the opening cinematic.
The jungle continent of Lustria lies west across the great ocean. The first men to land upon these shores ransacked an ancient temple, filling their ships with golden treasures. Word spread of their wealth, and others were eager to follow. Fueled by greed, men of the Empire ventured deeper into the jungle's heart. The land of beasts, ravaged and plundered for its riches. It will not be without consequence. The jungle stirs. A cold-blooded fury rising to punish the invaders. In the temple cities of Lustria, the lizard men enact a ritual to call upon their mighty guardian. For the Wanderer roams Lustria once more. The spirit of the jungle made manifest. A reckoning has come. Only the strongest will survive the coming bloodshed.
We are the strongest. Marcus Wolfhard, the Scotsman, will take on all the lizard men, and we shall crush them. And we shall enjoy doing it too. There'll be a bit of a pause in a moment as the game just kills off some unnecessary factions. But then the man will start talking to you again, and I'll let you hear him.
Voyaged across the great ocean on the Emperor's command, I shall tame this jungle-infested continent and plunder it for the treasures it holds. The near unimaginable wealth of these lands is dispatched home through the coastal colonies. But recent raids by the lizard beasts have set the Empire back, and I expect further attacks. Other enemies loom nearby. Savage orcs, no less, who raid nearby abandoned cities. These ancient places are sure to harbor more riches, so are prime locations for colonization. But we must be aware that the lizard beasts dominate these jungles. For our colonies to survive their threat, reinforcements will be needed from home. The time of opportunity is now. Lustria and its dangers await. Anything that stands before me in the hope of defeating the Empire will meet its end by my bow. It is the Emperor's will.
So, I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that the gentleman that voices Marcus Wolfhard is not actually Scottish, because I don't really believe his accent, if I'm honest. But anyway, welcome to Warhammer 2 and welcome to the Vortex campaign. I have chosen the Vortex campaign specifically because the turn times are considerably more manageable, and if you are playing a faction in the New World, the Vortex map is much more detailed. So you can see we get the whole of what is South America, Lustria as it's called in the game, but in the Mortal Empires campaign you only get the sort of northeasterly section, so it's much more detailed. And also, if you're playing the New World, it's very unlikely you'll ever return to the Old World over here, and vice versa. So if you are wanting to play as a New World faction, this campaign I would say is preferred because it's just a bit quicker. My turn times typically are about 10 to 15 seconds, so I won't skip them, I am afraid. We start in the Temple of Tlencan, which we are going to rename, as I have done in every single playthrough of this game, New Altdorf, because I really like to rename settlements. I should say that this is about the 5th time I've played Marcus Wolfhard's campaign, because I really like the Empire. And I really like this other setting, fighting against lizards, and then we get some orcs over here. The Skaven always pop up eventually. There's vampire coasts only a couple of regions away, so we get the undead to fight, and they're a good laugh. And then, of course, we've got Lord Mazdamundi coming from Hexwatl, or I've heard some people pronounce the X as a Z, so Hetzoatl. But I think in that instance it's an X. And if you go further north up here into Not Canada, you get the Dark Elves. And, of course, in Not Atlantis, the Light Elves, or the Normal Elves, or High Elves, I believe they're actually called. And down here in Not Africa, you get the Tomb Kings, the Egyptians. They're pretty cool, but cool to kill. Not cool to play as. Our achievements and our goals are relatively straightforward. We need to get our acclaim to the very, very top, which is the best that it can be. We need to destroy the Spirit of the Jungle faction, who are based down here. I believe that's Nakai the Wanderer, if memory serves. And we have to win the battle for Itza, which I have, in all my campaigns as Marcus Wolfhard, never achieved. But I'm really looking forward to bringing you this campaign now that I actually know what happens in the game, and I am no longer caught out by everything that goes on. When we first played this game, I was bloody useless. And
a defensible spot.
I'm going to go like that. And every single event or thing that happened in the game, I was unprepared for. Whereas now I know what more to expect. I feel like it's not going to be me just moaning about this game. And also it's not just going to be me banging on about how this is totally not Africa or not South America or whatever. But in my mind, it's easier to call these continents by their real-life counterpart because I don't know their in-game names. But anyway, there we are. Introduction over. Let us get about killing some beasts. So I hope that you will take away from this to see what the changes of the very latest, although this isn't Three Kingdoms, but the latest fantasy Total War game has to offer in comparison to Divide and Conquer, which of course is a mod, but brings fantasy to Total War. I shall make liberal use of the quick save feature, so do excuse me on that, but we will fight most battles because the auto-resolve is a bugger. I should also have said right at the outset, I am playing with quite a few mods. I think I've got about 35 installed. Most important of them, and chief amongst them, is SFO. Steel Faith Overhaul? And then the version we're using is called Blood Gore or something like that. So we shall be using a lot of mods, always do. I think if we just stay where we are, this is probably going to be our best place. Now, the beauty of coming back to this game when everything had already been released and everything was already set is that a lot of the new changes I didn't really know that they were changes. So, for example, this war wagon set up here, these guys, this is a brand new unit that was introduced with the Huntsman and the Beast, or the Hunter and the Beast DLC, I believe it's called. Whereas I just assumed that was an Empire unit, but it isn't at all. And it's quite good fun to use, so we'll use that in a moment. We've got to try and get our spearmen to take on this little son of a gun, a feral Bastillodon. The only reason is because this thing is rather disruptive, and it will cause a great deal of pain and anguish to many of our weak and feeble little swordmen. Here they all are in their glory. The quality of this game is certainly something you can't deny. It looks bloody beautiful. There is also a tactical map, but I never really use it because I don't find it all that useful. But just to give you a view of all the features, I should definitely say from the outset, this game and this time, I am not sponsored. This is not being brought to you at the whims of anyone else. I am just purely playing this game so much, I wanted to show you all what it looked like. This is also a new unit. They are called Huntsmen. They are basically just the Empire Archer unit that we will go and have a look at in a minute, but they have the ability to deploy out here, which has a special name, and I can't remember it at the moment. What do they call it? Vanguard Deployment, yes. And all it means is that we're going to get a couple of extra shots on that bugger up there before he comes and hits us. And we're also going to use Marcus Wolfhart to shoot at it as well. But let's give it a go. Dive straight in. Hit that. Now, if in Divide and Conquer you get annoyed at me for how frequently I play the game in ×6 speed, you will not be annoyed at me in this one because I frequently play this game in half speed. Because the battles are so much harder to predict. Right, that thing's getting closer, so let's run these buggers away. It's coming for you, Marcus. Go, 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 go. It's interesting, the single unit generals. They work very well in Warhammer 2, but there's still some occasions where there's just little nagging errors that come through with them. And sometimes they try and act as a unit, even though they are only one person, and it can be quite obvious. But we absolutely want our spearmen to be hitting that Bastillodon, if we can get those archers out of the way in time. So we'll just slow it down again. I'm sorry, but on this one, Warhammer 2 has taught me that Divide and Conquer is an absolute joke of a game. Very, very easy to play. The reason I've played Marcus Wolfhart about 5 times is because I lose a lot. And it's the past 2 times I've played him, I've managed to successfully complete the campaign, but in a few times before that, I've not been so lucky. And so reloading and things assists me a great deal. Now, they've got a general as well somewhere, haven't they? Here he is. This little bugger with the red cape on. Now, Marcus Wolfhart, our general, our leader, our glorious Scotsman. He is absolutely excellent at killing single targets, and he is bloody useless, if you'll pardon my French, at killing any large things, like battalions, for example. Look at these fools. You wait till you see the charge of cavalry. This is why my only real major qualm that makes me think, oh, I think I'd change that, is the game has you believe that cavalry charges are absolutely lethal. Like nothing as good as them, like nothing else is as good as them. But in truth, cavalry charges look amazing and do very little damage. It's all about morale damage, really, for cavalry charges. As you'll see when these war wagons smash into this unit in a moment. They look so good. But the game just looks nice, doesn't it? But do let me know if the sound levels are a little bit out. I have played around with it and done various tests. But it should be good to go. But anyway, you want to see the real battle take place, don't you? And here we are. The brave swordsmen of the Empire travelled half the world to conquer this land for its riches. And we are stopped, halted in our tracks by these vicious beasts. But we will not let them have us. Right, let's send in these buggers. Go for it. Archers, you might as well target them. All archers, target the buggers on hill. Here we go, brace yourselves for this. Absolutely smashes into them. It looks like they kill about 3/4 of the unit in a single charge, but unfortunately what the game doesn't show you, or does, you just have to pay a lot of attention, is that most of those units then stand up and they carry on fighting, so it doesn't do as much as you think it's going to do. Right, you pull up there to stop them hitting our archers. You pull over there, same thing. Archers. Ah, you're not on fire at will, that's why you keep standing still and doing nothing. Everyone go for them, including you. I'm not too worried about the Bastildon. If it takes out the spearmen, it takes out the spearmen. Their lives will have been well spent. But we can boost them up a bit there. I also personally think that Warhammer 2, in comparison to coming to it from Divide and Conquer, the camera controls are an absolute godsend. It is so easy to fly the camera around this game map, and there's just something about it that, he says, looking at the floor, there's something about it that I just think has really improved the usability of the camera, and I'm really for that. You guys go for the Bastildon. The Huntsmen are particularly useful against something like this large Gorgonzola, and that is, I don't know, I'm tempted to call it a Gorgonzola, but they are effective against large creatures, which that is. So they get a little bonus against it. We want to try and kill that. We don't want it to rout, because we'll have to fight this army again when we take Port Franz in a moment. And, oh, you need to come down the hill. It's turning around. Come on, Marcus! Run faster, you daft bastard. We've got out into this with a lot of, with quite a few troops still alive though, haven't we? That's good. But troops, of course, auto-replenish in the game's everlasting desire to be accessible to the masses. Troops auto-replenish. You no longer have to replenish your troops in a building. Yes, and down it goes as it flees like the cowardly beast it is. You shall be left to rot in the sands, you great stinking creature. What would the official word be for someone who dislikes animals, do you think? A bestiaphobe? Yes, sweet, sweet victory. What happened to their general? Ah, there he is. Come on, Marcus, target him. Everyone target him! I don't know if there's a... I have never... Usually I just end the battle straight away. But I'd really like him to die. But then actually they'll just replace him because armies can't... The armies cannot not have leaders. But it's always nice to get a kill, isn't it? But I don't really want to wait another minute to get rid of him. We'll just let him go. Let him go! Let them all go. I will possibly, if upon request, try and knock up a list of the mods that I use. But basically I use Steel Faith, and I use as many of the sub-mods for it as I can. Some of them don't currently work. So the ones that do work are the ones that I use. The thing at the very beginning of the campaign where I said that it'll just pause momentarily is something that a mod that I installed that helps to reduce your turn times by killing off a lot of the useless factions, the ones that are minor factions, don't really do anything, and it kills them off so that they don't take up your turn times.
Comradeship is all.
Right, I want Route Marcher and we want Reassuring Presence because we want to be replenishing our armies quickly and efficiently.
Marcus Wolfhard.
Speaking of which, the remaining fools, we'll just kill those off. Oh, didn't even lose a single man. I will take 336 gold coins from you. Thank you very much.
Fearless.
Brayol has fallen in battle, and Marcus Wolfhard has gained a follower. And now we shall take Port Franz.
They will fall.
Do we have enough to take Port Franz? What's that there? Cold One Riders. We've still got some spearmen.
I've got your backs, so watch mine.
I don't know if I want to go straight in.
Reposition.
We've got plenty of time.
We are the best.
Can you encircle? Yeah.
Camp.
Ah, but then that costs so much more.
Agree.
Ah, look, we can just get into our region. Yes. And now they're cheaper. I'll take... The spearmen have taken a bit of a hit, haven't they? So get a unit of pikemen. Swordmen are always useful against lizardmen. Lizardmen are like a entry-level horde nation. They throw everything they can at you. And they've got a shed load of horde, but nowhere near as bad as the Skaven. Gods, do I hate the Skaven. I'm so pleased if the cursor is there that that's finally returned. And I am just really enjoying playing Warhammer. I know that in the Divide and Conquer videos I've moaned about it a lot. I actually am really thoroughly enjoying it. This is one of SFO's things. We're going to go with faction-wide caps. And in a minute when it's going to ask us about roaming beastmen armies, if it does for this one actually, I can't remember if it does, we're going to say no to that. You can already get attacked by basically everything all the time. From any direction, anywhere, with the ability for certain nations to burrow underneath you, of course. That I don't really need extra roaming armies. Now, it's a damn good job that the turn times don't take long, because in Warhammer 2's, and certainly just most late game, most campaigns and Total War games after Medieval 2, something that they've absolutely cracked down on, which is a big problem for Medieval 2, is stack spam. Now, stack spam in Med 2 is an absolute joke, and any one of the many late-game nations you might fight in Medieval 2 Total War could have anywhere between 20 to 25 full banner armies coming for you at any one time, and it is a nightmare to try and kill them all. I'm going to go and camp on this little hill here, because even though hills don't give a huge advantage, they still give some advantage. But then if we were to stay... the battle maps in this are such a challenge. But no, we are going to camp on this hill here, and we'll set them all up when the battle begins. So Medieval 2, there are huge problems with stack spam, and the late game is just a massive grind. Army after army after army of usually trash-style units. And they just never end. It's just a never-ending festival of battles. And it becomes very, very boring. Because you're fighting the same units over and over. You win heroic victory after heroic victory. This is a problem that Divide and Conquer also has with units such as the High Elves, for example. Or just anyone that's got very elite units. You end up fighting Mordor, and Mordor just spam everything at you, time and time and time again. There's huge numbers. There could be 30 Mordor battalions on the field, all getting into position to attack you. So, Creative Assembly, as you will all know, dealt with the stack spam by removing captains. Every single army must be led by a general. That's how they dealt with the stack spam, and it's absolutely worked. It is quite common certainly in the Warhammer 2 videos that I've watched of people who are considerably better at the game than me and make a living out of playing Warhammer videos. It seems to me that having maybe 5 armies is usually the maximum you might expect to see in the late game if you are playing Warhammer. Or we should not be at times 6 speed. No, go over there. Yes. So that is a huge improvement if you ask me. But it does mean that in the early game, when you've only got one army to move around, it can take some time to actually get into action. But the battles in Warhammer, in my opinion, are so much more engaging than in previous titles because there's so much going on. Now, I appreciate this is totally subjective and many people hate the fantasy change. But I just love it. I really think the introduction of the giant beasts, the visceral quality of the combat is, in my opinion, a massive improvement. Pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away, pull away. Slow it down. Right, spearman over that side. You're on the wrong side. Go. No, run. Do as you're told. Someone get Marcus behind the line because he's not very good in melee. Also, he must be absolutely boiling. We're in the equivalent of South America and he's wearing a fur-lined hat. I mean, is he an idiot? Does he just get cold if a slight breeze blows through? What is this man's internal temperature control? Because it is off the shizang. I also must confess, I thoroughly like the fact that you can play the game at half speed. It's so useful. Now, if you play on higher difficulty levels, you can't play the game at half speed. But if you play on anything below Legendary, you can. Right, the buggers have flanked us, and they are also doing what they can to shower us with missiles. So we'll move our units around. Don't get caught in melee. Fire over there. Fire over there. You may have just noticed the line that I just created and gave them to move. That's another beautiful addition to this game. There's just so many little quality of life improvements, but I will concede and will absolutely complain till the cows come home about the dumbing down of the campaign. But then with the battles feeling so impactful now, I'm happy to sort of overlook it, to be honest. But look at the ability to do that. You can curve them around enemies so that they won't get in contact, they won't come into battle with them, and they'll run to where you need them to. And we've trapped those stupid lizard riders. Killing our brave sons. Keep it up, my boys. You're doing grand. We are doing grand. We are absolutely smashing them. The lizard men absolutely need to rely on having more men than you on the field at any one time. And any moment where they lose that superiority, it's basically over for them. So in this instance where we've still got over 1,000 and they're dropping down but like 1 a second at the moment, it is almost an assured victory. But we have got to deal with these archers over here. And unfortunately, whilst the Empire archers, who I said I was going to show you but then never did, whilst I think they look really cool, because I love simplicity, they're not very good. They are considerably worse than our crossbow unit. Or, well, they're not. They have about the same sort of melee damage, range damage, but they have a much lower... why aren't you stat showing? There we are. They have the crossbows, I think, have a 24 missile damage, but the range of crossbows is higher than the archers. But do note that I am playing with SFO, which is an overhaul. So there may be aspects of the base game that aren't present for me, but will be present for you if you play just the base game. I don't actually know how much SFO changes, because it's one of those that says that it's so large it couldn't possibly list all of its changes in an easily readable way, so they just don't bother. Instead, they just list giant changelogs, which no one has the time to read, so you don't really know what you're getting into. But fortunately, with the Steam Workshop being so accessible, you think I'm hired by Steam, the amount I bang on about how much I love the Steam Workshop. But you can uninstall and install mods in 2 seconds, so if you don't really like what it changes, or you don't even know what it changes, you can just uninstall it. Oh, look, the lizard men came back. Cold One Riders. Paint in the neck. This army doesn't appear to have a leader, but everyone has a leader. Oh, well, it's over anyway, so it doesn't matter where their leader is, but it does look like their leader is actually a battalion and not a person. But we're not bothered about killing them all this time, because we've just taken the port. And we're going to have to very quickly ready the port for war, because something called the Dread Fleet, a gentleman who leads a horde of sailing undead, absolutely loves Port Franz, and he will come for it, in my experience, about 5 or 6 times. And he's so easy to beat, so we shall prepare ourselves for the never-ending onslaught of the Dread Fleet. But they're not here yet, so... but anyway, it's ours now. We'll auto-resolve the victory. And we'll just occupy it because this is our heartland. So to explain some of the actual features that I was banging on about, we have something here called hostility. As you can see, as it goes up, our public order goes down. It also then increases the strength of our enemies. Specifically, I believe the lizard men. I'm not sure if it applies to all enemies. At the moment, we're on hostility level 1. When we reach hostility level 5, we get Imperial supplies dispatched immediately. The Imperial supply system, at the moment we're 1 turn away from getting it, so you'll see what it's like in the next turn. But the Imperial supplies is the way that we get late game units before we should get late game units. Oh, actually, you've got loads of points. I do use the mod that gives you 2 skill points per level, because I think there's so many things. And why nerf yourself? It's single player. Have fun with it. Oh, you've still got another one. You absolute demon. So Imperial supplies will come from this one here, but we can't get any yet. But our own troops, if we go into the building browser, you'll note all of these buildings are currently locked off to us, the ones with crosses through them. They're all military-related ones, so we can't train any of our better units until we get to at least the first acclaim level. And we get to acclaim by taking provinces. But, of course, taking provinces means your hostility level rises, and so the lizardmen get stronger and stronger as you get stronger. It's quite an interesting little system, but in practice, even for someone such as myself, as I say, who's not really that great at the game, I'm getting a lot better, and I've got a lot of experience in Total War games, so I understand some things. My theory is very good, my practical application is often very lacking. I'll tell you what we're going to do, is we're going to get rid of one of those units of archers. But even for me, I found that this system is very easily managed. And you don't actually have to worry about it too much. We've got minus 18 at the moment, but you get... Keeping order up is so... It's almost a losing battle. You might as well just go all in and let the order run wild, to be honest. But I've certainly found that the system that applies to Marcus Wolfhart, the faction, is not too restrictive and is quite enjoyable. Now, we're going to be fighting the lizardmen first, and I am going to take the artillery reinforcements, but then when we swap over to fighting the orcs, we'll take the knightly orders and we'll get some Empire Knights to help gun down the orcs. I'm going to try and avoid fighting the Vampire Coast for as long as possible because they are much stronger than the orcs, and the orcs only have this province here. So you can see them up there in the High Sentinel. They've also got the Temple of Kara, or what we will call Wolf's Point when we capture it. They've also got Tlanxla, which we shall call Wolf's Cliff once we capture that. And there's a region just there as well, which you can take. But we haven't got Wolf's Hill yet, which we need to, or as it's currently called, some indigenous name. We shan't bother with that. We shall call it Wolf's Hill. But first of all, we need to get down there, and we need to train some troops. So we'll move over to Altdorf. And you can train while you're outside, what does it matter? We're not too bothered about spearmen or pikemen at the moment, because the lizardmen at the moment are very much in horde mode. And so we want swordmen and the like to sort of pin them down. And then as it gets later into the campaign and we come up against Mazdamundi and Hexwattle, or the Red Sun people, they will have giant beasts we're going to need to deal with. To the south, as I say, we've got the Vampire Coast over here on the aptly named Vampire Coast. So it's Luthen or Lucor, or I think it's Luthen, isn't it? He'll tell me in a moment when I kick on him. We haven't actually properly found him yet. We've only got the mutineers. And we've got the drowned. It'll be a long time before we bump into her. But let's get some trade going with these people. Get a bit more money. But yes, we haven't actually met him yet, but I'm sure he's called Lucon, or Luther. I just can't remember. Anyway, he's down here on the Vampire Coast. Further down, it's more lizardmen. There's some Skaven in there. There are some dwarves in these mountains here. And then finally in these isles. Turtle Isles, are they called? Yes. There are some high elves. So we get the full spectrum of peoples. In occupying not Mexico is, of course, Hexwattle, as I say, the chief faction of the lizardmen, as I understand it. We've also got here some other humans, which, in my experience, die quite often. The Norska are also present, so the Vikings have raided. They hold that province just there. Helmut Nussbacher. No, Helmut Nussbacher is the Port Reaver gentleman. And then, as I say, further north, the Dark Elves. Whether or not we meet them, can't say for certain. I'll end the turn again. We need to go and get Tlaxclan... Sorry. What is that? We need to go and get Wolf's Hill before they're able to muster another army. Also, what we absolutely want to do, another of the features which you've yet to see, and I can talk about now, is Wolfhart's Hunters. And I personally think the most useful amongst them is Kalara. And we get her when our hostility level reaches very hostile. Now, if I were to go to war with the Vampire Coast Mutineers, I will get Van Hal, I believe he's called. But I'm not particularly bothered about going to war with the Mutineers. But then actually they always die. So if we go to war with them now, we can use him as an Inquisitor to keep down our corruption, which is currently rising. And that is another public order problem. I don't really like Van Hal or the Witch Hunter unit in general as part of an army. I much prefer it as an actual witch hunter, hunting witches amongst my populace. So we might as well go through with these. And there we are, he's joined us. And there he is, standing behind our army. Van Hal. Van Hal joins the expedition. While following a trail through the dense jungle canopy, you stumbled upon a clearing strewn with dead bodies. They looked like seafarers, senior admiralty of some sort, perhaps. But stranger still is the fact that each had a stake through the chest and was decapitated. On closer inspection, you realize they were already dead before they met this gruesome fate. And in fact, not dead, but undead. Vampires. A few nights later, a mysterious man emerged from the jungle, introducing himself as Hertwig Van Hal. His garb indicated he was a witch hunter of the Empire, but he revealed himself to be the healer you have been seeking. Explaining your cause to him, you asked him to join the expedition, and he accepted. But on one condition, that you help him with his own mission in Lustria in return. And there he is, Hertwig. Now, go and stand over there and stop the vampires gaining any corruption.
You make fools of both of us.
I gather that witch hunters on the battlefield are something of leader killers. They are assassins. They are particularly good against single targets, particularly enemy leaders, and they are fairly atrocious against battalions or regiments or armies. I don't know. Kalara, I suppose, is exactly the same, who we're punting for. Oh, the Spirit of the Jungle have been destroyed. I'm sure they'll come back.
Marcus Wolfhart.
Oh, there you go, the first time he said it. If you take a drink every time he says his name, it won't be long before you're absolutely gazeboed and off your rocket.
Marcus Wolfhart.
But what do we have here, I hear you cry?
Very well. Mobilize.
We share a common enemy. The orcs and the lizard men are at war. Now, we could probably take that army on its own. But we'll just see what they do. We'll just encamp again so we get more replenishment. Just give it another turn, see where they go. Whether or not they move to us, move back to Wolf's Hill. Yes, they have moved back and they have taken up defense. Damn. It's going to be a hard-fought battle to take them out of there. We've got a reasonable amount of money. Let's improve our leadership.
Every last beast.
Now, we have got the Great Cannon, which is fairly useful. We've got the Mortar, the Outrider, sorry, with grenades, which I really like. I think they're a really useful unit. I don't like the Pistoliers. I think they're awful. But the Grenade Launcher, I'd take those any day of the week. We've got plenty of Swordmen. We've got room for 2 more units, so why not take 2 more units? And then we shall give these Lizardmen what for. A damned good hiding, if you ask me. Filling up the jungles, leaving dirt and destruction in their path. Ah, they've just sealed their fate. That's very useful, isn't it, when the AI does something stupid? But do remember that the difficulty levels do not change the AI's quality, merely they change the AI's cheating ability. In fact, in higher levels, they get more money, they get more troop morale, they hone in on you more, I believe, but they don't get cleverer. They will make the same mistakes over and over and over and over. But that is going to be where I end this first episode. So this episode probably came a little out of the blue for you and me. I only decided yesterday to actually record it. I recorded it on Tuesday. You're watching it on, Friday, I think. But I do hope you've enjoyed this foray into Warhammer. I hope that you will enjoy coming along this path with me for an idea of how this will affect the channel. The Dark Crusade episodes are drawing to a close. I've pre-recorded 2 of those. They're coming to you at the start of November. And that one really is closing in. It's probably got, at best, 10 episodes left, if needed. And so my plan is very much for this to actually sort of replace it and go side by side with the DAC videos. That is what I am thinking, because I'm thoroughly enjoying playing this, and I'd like to bring it all to you, to give you something to view that isn't Divide and Conquer, and to show you what I mean when I say how cool would Lord of the Rings be in this game. Many of you disagree. It is subjective. But that's the plan. But anyway, for now, that is going to conclude this episode. I am going to record the second one immediately after this, because I've got to do pre-recordings because I'm on holiday in a few days. So I will see your comments after the second... I will see your comments after I have recorded the second episode, so I'll reply to them in Oh no, I would have recorded the first 4 episodes before I see your comments. So anyway, sorry, I'm babbling. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to check out Gamesplanet in the link below. But until we speak again, dear friends, Navarna den Pedimad Melonin, and farewell.